Welcome everybody to a new and awesome edition of Superhero League. This is our 11th episode. Thanks for being here. My name is Omar Sadoun, and with Eric Wolstad, we are going to be hosting this track. Today, we're excited to be launching the new AE Studio, our main developers online interface development environment. And to explain what are the exciting news behind this and everything we want to know, and we will have Nikita Fuchs with us talking about all about AE Studio. But before continuing, a couple of rules that I would like to share with you guys. For those with questions, feel free to post them on the chat, raise your hands, turn on your cameras, and join the discussion when we invite you. And then please turn off the camera and the mic again. You can also follow us on æternity YouTube channel, as well as Periscope through æternity account, and all our different channels that we have available. Don't forget to mention your chain name to get a tip, and also use superhero.com to tip great content. We will share the links to download the extension so you can reward with a tip to any public content without any restriction, intermediary, or censorship. Well, our topic today for this devs playground, as you all know, on the developer side, blockchain has been always very hard to work with, where development environments are kind of messy, sometimes hard to understand or to make it work the right way. Nikita has been working for several months on what we know right now as AE Studio, formerly the Fire Editor, and I would like to present Nikita. Quick words about him. Nikita Fuchs, he defined himself as an autodidact with an academic background in business and IT. He has been helping projects and companies to bring together the challenges of development with the requirements from an application and business case perspective. He has a past with Ethereum and has been working for the last year with the Eternity team, building great stuff like the Fire Editor, now AE Studio, for making our devs' lives easier. Nikita, please join me to the stage, turn your camera on. Thank you for being here with us. You are very welcome. But before showing us the latest news that we have, can you tell us more about AE Studio? Can you tell us the story about it?
Yeah, so when working, like when I more or less stopped working with Ethereum, or like kind of like narrowed it down until maybe 1 year ago, I was heavily relying on good developing tools just to build and test and interact with smart contracts in various ways. And there's exactly one kind of also limited tool in the Ethereum ecosphere, which also has not changed that much ever since. And actually, yeah, from using it a lot, I came across a lot of challenges in that protocol. And as it posed kind of a big challenge in Eternity to not have such a tool and not have actually a great tool that can help you with this work, with these challenges. I one day just started to actually building one. We had some problems in the past where two teams attempted to build such a thing, but it's always really hard if you don't have any experience with working with such tools. And as I lived through this pain for years, and I knew what was kind of needed to help you out to get going fast, I decided just to build something then myself, and that's what I did. And of course, make it like it's usual today, a modern web application, which you can just use in a browser, and that helps you, of course, with all sorts of challenges that you will be faced when building blockchain applications, as compared to just, for example, say JavaScript web apps or whatever.
Thank you for your comments. That, but also having a developer's environment that works smoothly, it's very important. And how did you achieve it with AE Studio?
So first of all, the biggest challenge, of course, when working with various components is to combine them into something that looks like a seamless experience. So the reason why, as of still right now, and this is going to change in the future, and the future optimizations, why you see a wide loading screens for a few seconds if you try to load the editor without having ever loaded it, is you need a lot of components. It's just so much on the box that you put in together with what the user cannot see and is also, of course, not supposed to see. We're talking to various compilers and nodes and formatting libraries that verify things for you, libraries that visualize stuff for you, basically that libraries that help you build decentralized applications and code smart contracts, interact with them like as if it would be like, say, any other Java application where I just click on play. So the goal would be that even someone that has no experience in blockchain development whatsoever and not understanding at all what is actually going on under the hood can at least have a moment of success, because he can just click something and then it was gonna work, because the AA Studio does all the work for you. And from then on, you can start learning and understanding, being highly motivated, learning and understanding how decentralized applications work, what blockchain is, what is a private key, how does a smart contract work, and so on and so forth, contrary to the more widespread experience of having to sift for days through complicated documentations, reading a ton of stuff, and then probably maybe getting something working after a few days.
Well, there is a phrase you have on the platform that is complicated is easy, but simple is hard, from Robert Wirling. So I think that make a lot of sense with what you were saying.
Yes, so Robert Wirling, to those who are not aware, he's one of the co-inventors of the Erlang language. It's a legendary, like it's more than a language, it's more like a system of computing. He was part of the Eternity core team for a really long time, and communicating, working with him was really inspiring to me. Because although he was such a really brilliant and genius guy, he could always explain and show off things in a really simple term. And on one talk that he gave, he finished his speech with complicated is easy, but simple is hard. And if you take a look at what Erlang can do in a relatively simple way, then you really see that he, during his life, really followed this motto. And as I said, him being a really inspiration to me, especially with the saying, I took this as a motto because we used to have editors also in the past, and they were built by really talented people also. But the problem was, they were super complicated. They were built straightforward, technically correct. You could do stuff with it, but they were super complicated and not easy to use. And coming up with such a tool on my own, it was of course quite some work. So that's why it also has some quirks left and right. Feedback is always welcome. You find some bugs, report them in the forum or open an issue, and it will definitely be taken care of. Yeah, of course, if you want to contribute, it's public on GitHub, so open PRs, and there we go.
Cool. Yeah, we are going to be sharing the links during the talk on the chat, so everybody can see it, collaborate, and ask for post feedback and any issue that will happen. Nikita, before that you show us something, what could you say very quickly what AA Studio can solve for developers, like the key factors? You already said a couple of things, but very straight for what key factors for that, for developers to understand.
Basically getting all the things that you are used to when coding in other languages than Sophia. So you can write code formatted, you get error highlighting, right? Then there's also a couple of extra features like code sharing if you have an issue, and most people when learning the language, it will probably be the case. So you can easily ask a friend for help. I'm going to demonstrate that feature, although it's still in beta a little bit. You can basically deploy and interact with smart contracts as if it was just some regular app or code or whatever. And I think one of the coolest things is also there's a feature that generates you a fully working basic form of a blockchain application based on the smart contract you write and the function you want to call, and even including the parameters of the function that you want to call. So basically, you don't start reading documentation and then figuring out how to build on Eternity. No, you start using Eternity, and it's going to tell you and explain you and show you how to actually get going with your very first application that deploys your smart contract and calls a function with the data that you intend. And the coolest thing is you almost don't need to code at all. So it's anyone can do it.
Cool. That's great. Well, can you show us something? Can we see something about that?
Yeah, so the fun part about it is that actually, like, the first goal of this talk was to present a very new feature, but then, as by the motto, like, complicated is easy, but simple is hard. But we went the hard way and made it simple, so that's why the demo was really short, and that's why when we decided, okay, let's just give a general overview about the A Studio itself for the people that have not looked at it, and maybe like leave the latest update then to the end. So okay, let me share.
We keep the surprise for the end.
Okay, so this is the whole IDE. You're gonna start out always with a fully working contract here. So we have, of course, like stuff that you know from IDEs, tab features and things. It's a little bit more complicated to build this in web, but anyways, so yeah, we're gonna go with this, I call it the token hamster contract, right? And so whenever we work with a contract here, we can just edit it, and whenever we screw something up, we're gonna see an error highlighting. So don't be surprised that this is not here, but in computer science terms, the error is basically playing here. Here's coming something unexpected, right? So we better put this brace back here, and there we go. So, and whenever you do a mistake, the editor basically, gives you also a hint from what the compiler returns. The compiler is a hosted feature as of right now, so the editor always talks to the compiler remotely. That's why it has a slight delay of a couple of milliseconds. So this thing even gives you a hint like, oh, maybe you forgot a bracket here. Let's put one back. There we go. So there we see, okay, there's a compiled contract. So if you're totally new to Eternity, have never done anything with that, you're gonna get like absolute no warranty, hard-coded public accounts, hard-coded in here that you can use, or you can log in with GitHub, which is the case for me right now, and you're going to get your private personal testnet accounts. So we can either check and see, okay, this contract either exists at certain address, and we would press this button here, but no, we want to deploy a new one, and there we go. We have to wait for one microblock, which is really fast on the Eternity protocol, and then we see our deployed contracts. And so we can like call the functions, and what the editor does is through some functionality that we named the ACI, which I vouched for a long time across the core dev team, we can basically parse your contract and have a piece of UI for every function that you have here, right? So we see like there's a function called readTestValue, and I can call it just here out of the UI, and I get my answer back. So this piece of the UI is being generated like dynamically depending on your very personal contract. So you can also even like call stateful functions and send a transaction here. And by the way, the UI can also differentiate whether you call it statically without any transaction, or if this function requires sending a transaction. So that's why here is the send transaction button. And yeah, that's more or less about it. So let's imagine we have some problem here with this contract, and I don't know like what this is about, right? And I want to ask someone in dev chat or in the forum. I can click share contract and selection. I'm trying to zoom in. Maybe does that work for you guys?
Yes, work very well.
Okay, nice. So in a matter of seconds, it should copy me a link to my clipboard, and then I will just open a new tab, and I paste this link, and then I should see, there you go, there's a new contract. this is the one, the place of the piece of the code that my friend highlighted me that he had a question about, right? So no more like paste bin or other crap. You can just start off working here right in this editor. So yeah, that's more or less about it. This is a more or less also a rather new component here where you can define how much value you want to send across with your transaction. And that only works if you're logged in or you use the next feature that we're going to announce in the video presentation. And of course, change the gas amount and gas price. And one neat feature of the editor, also courtesy of the nice JavaScript SDK, is that we have an estimation function. So the amount of gas that you send along to pay for your transaction and the price that you send along with it can be guessed at a reasonable amount. So the transaction will definitely go through and be not overpriced or underpriced. But the value, of course, you can set yourself in your favorite Eternity units. And yeah, here we go. There you got your menu with the other contracts that I still have here. And yeah, as I said, things are supposed to be really simple. So you can just basically, you have your default contract, you use a public account. When I sign out here, I should see the public accounts popping up. It says, well, watch out, it's a demo account. But if you load it up like this and press the deploy button, then everything just works.
Cool. Well, that's great. That's great. I remember the first version I saw about the file editor, and it has grown so much, and it's much more easy to use. And it's like you said, you can even start with anything, and that's it. You already have a smart contract deploy, and you can test it against the testnet very quickly. So
yeah, if you have 1 minute, I forgot to demo you guys one major feature that I worked on for quite some time, and I'm going to share my screen real quick because I mentioned it in my introduction talk. So whenever you deploy a contract here, then you say, okay, I've got it in the browser. All right, but I want to work with, I want to build an application, adapt, whatever. Okay, so how do I get from here to this nice UI? And I want to call this function with these parameters. And I just click the code generator here, which is still a little bit in beta, but it works. It just needs to be updated to the latest version of the SDK. So you have here for your copy and paste purpose, it's ready-to-use code, which initializes the SDK for you. I'm going to try and zoom in. Defines your key pair here to use for that SDK. And here it puts the params that I just put into the UI. And it also knows which function I intended to call. Here's my contract code, which I just wrote in the editor. And down here is where the magic basically happens. So I could just copy, paste it into my Visual Studio Code and then run this code. And it would deploy the contract and call the function. And yeah, the earliest version of this feature I demonstrated already in Prague for those of you who have been there during my talk. So yeah, this is the thing that I forgot to tell you about.
No, I think we will have people saying, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I didn't come to check the chat yet, but I will do afterwards.
One more thing, Nikita, before showing the video, could you tell us very quickly about the importance of this integration that we are going to be showing?
Yeah, the feature that we're going to be showing is the last missing piece that will allow people to safely and securely interact with the mainnet and with contracts on that mainnet. Because yeah, private key management is something that you don't take the copy and paste way, right? And so for that you need special components, and special components also need special procedures. So that's why it was up to now only possible to use yeah, to use testnet for a good reason, because in this case the keys have been handled lightly, but this is not what you do, of course, with mainnet keys where you store files with. So yeah, thankfully to Mr. Robot Milan being here in the call and some support also from Philip Pivo, They have built something awesome that you guys already use in Superhero. So that's why I said, hey, probably let's take it, and then we have the full deal.
Nice, definitely important. So let's move on with the presentation.
Hi everybody, Nikita Fuchs here. I'm responsible for the dev tools at Eternity, and today I'm really proud to announce a major leap forward for developer ecosystem regarding one new feature that I'm proud to present for the AE Studio. Being the successful integration of the Superhero wallet, which many of you might already know, into the AE Studio. So what does that really mean for you guys? So far, you were only able to interact with the testnet on the AE Studio using some hard-coded testnet accounts or some personal ones if you use the login feature here. So right now you will be able to deploy and interact with contracts right on the mainnet and by using your own AE funds. So let's see what you guys will see first once you come to the page by checking a browser which does not have the extension installed yet. You will see a nice little notification here telling you to get the Superhero wallet. And once you have done that, installing it for your browser, I recommend using Chrome yet because Firefox is still a little bit quirky here and there regarding the Studio. Then you will be able to basically activate the mainnet here. So let's do it right now together. It's taking a little bit to load, and then immediately, like, your account changes. It notifies you this is your private wallet account. No one else is able to use it. This is mine. I've got 1.36 AE on here, and so let's just deploy some contract. Here we go. And what happens then is that the Superhero wallet pops up and shows you what you're about to do. You're going to deploy some contract, create a contract, do a contract creation transaction, and then we confirm. And then it takes a little bit of time to mine the microblock. Fortunately, not as slow as on other protocols. We give the miners a little bit of time here. And there we see the contract is deployed. We can just interact with it by calling its functions. So of course, as always, calling local functions, reading stuff will be super easy. Just a click of a button, and whatever takes some transaction basically. Let's do something stateful here. Then if we click on send transaction, then of course the Superhero wallet will again pop up to ask us for some confirmation, and we just confirm. Give it some time, and then we see the result of the transaction, and actually also in our logs here, there's the decoded result. So for those of you who have already tried to deploy or interact with mainnet contracts with the way that we had in place yet, know that this basically fastens things up by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude. Especially if you are new, you'd have to go through a ton of documentation till you can deploy your first token contract, and for example, or other contracts. And this greatly speeds up things for you. And by integrating the Superhero wallet, which securely stores your funds and your keys to your funds, you have a major improvement in security in comparison to, let's say, putting hard-coded keys into your scripts every here and there to run transactions or call functions on contracts. And here you can just really easily interact with the mainnet and use your mainnet funds to build on the Eternity mainnet. And yeah, I hope you guys like it. As always, if you find some bugs, this is all safe to use, of course, already. But yeah, maybe the UI has some quirks or whatever. Just open an issue in the forum or on GitHub already right away. and I'll be happy to help you guys out and put fixes in place in case you have some issues. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, that's great. That's great to see how it works and how it connects to the editor. So we have time, Nikita. We have time for some questions. We have like 3 minutes. Let me see if we have something from the audience. I have one here that says, "What is your favorite smart contract use case?"
Oh yeah, my favorite smart contract use case would be probably an assassination market, where you have to stake funds for the assassination of somebody, and then you have oracles where you can ask, for example, you have Wolfram Alpha, you can ask is Donald Trump dead, and it's going to give you a yes/no answer. And of course, the assassin knows when this person is going to be killed, so he can basically put an encrypted stake into that smart contract, and then he will reveal it that he knew the unencrypted data for that expected assassination time, and then we'll get the funds that were staked in the smart contract.
Simple. Nice. Well, what else we have? If I have a couple of questions myself. How much work was involved to build a studio?
So looking at the statistics, I think at GitHub, it was started already some while ago. But I think like 99.7 or whatever % of the code was all written by me. Of course, courtesy of library authors and everything. It's open source world. You never do something fully on your own. But yeah, it's quite large, and it could, of course, use some code reworks, because I started it off not on the whiteboard, but basically by experimenting, because building editors is not what people do like every day, So it went on over months, always like in a part-time way. Of course, besides other tasks were there. So yeah, I don't exactly know, but I think the first time that I started on this and I had this idea was like 3/4 of a year ago, when I was bored when visiting my mother, and I was lying on the couch, and I was fed up with us not having like decent development tools, and yeah. So I just started basically, and this is what evolved from that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's your baby. After all, it's your baby. I have a last one, and we will have to hand over the stage. What are the following plans for a studio?
Yeah, it would be really nice if we can get data encoding and decoding feature, higher Dinsho, into the JavaScript SDK. So everything will definitely be like way smoother, because in the background there's like a ton of stuff going on back and forth all the time. That would of course make everything more smoother, and then of course everyone else is free to express his wishes or her. And then I think if I'll be allowed to, I will be adding like generating applications, not just like pure Node.js like rundown code, but maybe something that also gives you a graphical user interface to your smart contract, and generating like React, Vue, or Angular, which the editor is also built with, projects for people basically ready to go. Let's say you have a token and you have the functionalities for that, and you don't want to code stuff, and then the generator would basically create you a fully fledged dApp, like hooked up with your smart contract and with the UI functionalities and all the integrity stuff. That would be actually doable. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that would be great. Well, Nikita, thank you very much for being here to answer all our questions, to present a studio. We invite everybody to check the link and use it and give feedback and any issue that could be facing. Thanks once again. Well, now it's time for Alex and Mary to take the stage, so we are going to be leaving them the place. Thank you very much again.